us for our very first edition of KSAT News Now, coming at you direct and live from the KSAT 12 newsroom. I'm RJ Marquez.
And I'm Alicia Barrera. So what is KSAT News Now? Pretty self-explanatory. It's a digital newscast, and we bring you a handful of top stories everyone is talking about, and we dive a little deeper into them ourselves.
Yeah, this is going to be really interesting, but we want to bring all of you guys into the conversation as well. Whether you're watching us on KSAT.com right now, on our KSAT Facebook page, Instagram, jump into the comment section and let us know what you think, and we will be reading those comments live. So a lot of viewer engagement here.
Today we'll be hearing from our viewers as we prepare for the 20th anniversary of September 11th.
Yeah, plus Mexico responding to Texas's abortion ban, and that's an interesting story. And another controversial changeup over at UTSA over their come and take it signage.
Yeah, all these top stories and more, but weather is of course something that's always a big conversation starter. So of course we want to bring in our amazing weather authority team. We have Justin Hoare with us today. Good morning.
What's up, guys? How are you?
What's up? Excited to have you. Our very first guest here on KSAT News.
I'm honored. The honor is all mine. So
Thank you so much.
I appreciate being able to join you guys.
Yeah, Justin, so what do we have going on? I know that we're going to be incorporating our weather team, you alongside Sarah Spivey, Katie Blake, maybe bringing in some other people. So just talk to us a little bit about what you guys are working on, maybe on the side or some different projects.
Right, so you always see us, doing the weather, but there are other things we're working on. And for instance, today I was working on a story about the 1921 flood here in San Antonio, which was a big deal. It's why we have the Riverwalk. It's why we have almost dams. So we dig deeper into stuff like that. I love history, love digging into that stuff. So we're going to look back on some historical things. Sarah and Katie have been working really hard on some climate issues. There's a lot going on there. There's a lot to unpack. And there's a lot going on in the weather world, obviously. So we're going to look into that. And we've got some stories coming up. I'm heading out to work with the folks at the Edwards Aquifer. What's going on there? The aquifer, always an important part of South Texas. So that's kind of what we're looking into. And we'll have some pieces for you as well.
Justin, what about this week? What can we expect for the remainder of the week? We had some storms earlier, and it's hot.
It is hot. So I think the word you're going to have to remember this week is humidity. We're losing it. We're getting rid of it.
Yay.
This is very exciting. So yes, it's going to be hot. Yes, we're going to see temperatures near 100, which is, it's September in South Texas. But without the humidity, the mornings feel a little bit better, the evenings feel a little bit better. And that's going to be the main storyline this week. And then maybe next week we get some rain back in the picture with some tropical moisture. Not necessarily a tropical system, but just some tropical moisture. So that's what we have to look forward to Monday, Tuesday next week.
Weather Authority, Justin Hoare, thank you so much.
You got it.
All right, good stuff there, Justin.
Right. While in Texas, you can now report a woman if you think she's had an abortion to the authorities or be punished by giving a woman a right to a clinic. In Mexico, the Supreme Court is saying it's unconstitutional to punish abortion.
Yeah, this has been a really interesting, a little bit of a response to, of course, Texas's abortion law that was controversial in its own right. Now, interesting, Alicia, only 4 states in Mexico, Mexico City, Oaxaca, Veracruz, Hidalgo, are now going to allow abortion in most circumstances. So there's other states that are not going to be allowing this, but really kind of the biggest one here is Mexico City. You think about how big that is, what a big area, and it's just kind of an interesting thing that they are doing now. Now there are also, we talk about some other states here where they do want to put some people where they say that they can go 3 years up in prison, but yeah, some of that stuff, they have not actually convicted anyone.
And just the interesting point of that, we know Mexico, very Catholic, conservative country, so it is surprising to see them with that. But in other women's news, but this time in the world of pop culture, Britney Spears, the queen of pop, looks like she's a little step closer to freedom. Yeah,
of course, a lot of people have been following this Britney Spears story, her conservatorship. This has really been all over social media and really like any sort of newscast that you look at. So basically, Britney's dad, now Jamie, has filed a petition in LA to let go of control of her estate. For 13 years, Mr. Spears had control of he was the court-appointed decision maker and basically had control of her finances, private life after she went through some personal trouble there.
Hashtag free Britney. We've seen it all across social media. The judge, we know, still needs to approve this move by the father, but Britney's attorney has already said that they think this is a massive legal victory and vindication for the Queen of Pop after for 13 years. So we'll, of course, keep an eye on that.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people have been pulling for Britney in this fight to regain her rights. Okay, speaking of little bit of controversy. Big story here. UTSA, their president announced yesterday that they will actually remove the "Come and Take It" signage now from their athletics department. This was a big slogan that they've used over the past 10 years, especially when it came to football.
So in a tweet, UTSA women's soccer Abby Casal called the move gutless. She stated the history of the flag has to do with defending Texas, and she was referring us to the athletes, defend UTSA. So of course, a lot of opinions already on this. Was it a good move by the university to remove this big slogan? I actually wasn't aware that they had it, in the big flag, and that's during the games. They extend that big orange flag.
Yeah, right. So the student section does that. They have the giant flag in the stands at the start of the fourth quarter, and that's kind of been their rallying cry, if they're behind or just to kind of close out the game. But they recently opened the race facility, and they have just sort of the big signage there. They apparently have removed the "Come and Take It" signage from there. So a lot of UTSA fans not happy about this. They say they're still going to take their flags to this game because they actually open at home on Saturday, so it'll be interesting.
And a little history with that, the phrase was actually used in the Battle of Gonzales. That's back in 1835, and it's said to be the first military fight of the Texas Revolution. So again, a lot of students using Twitter to voice their opinions, saying they don't really want this to happen. But apparently, they're going to take it up to see if maybe they'll remove it from even the clothing, just everything dealing with UTSA, because it's a big deal.
Yeah, anything related to UTSA athletics, no more "Come and Take It." And I believe we're going to have a story later on one of our newscasts talking a little bit about this.
All right, so now we want to move to our top story. This years since the attacks on 9/11, and all across the country, people are reflecting and preparing to commemorate that day, and it's one many Americans, us included, will never forget.
Yeah, in fact, the question, where were you on 9/11? That's something that everyone immediately knows the answer to. So we reached out to some of our viewers to share their stories. Here's some of their responses that we got through Facebook and through some other ways. So Liz Flores right here, she says that I was working the call center for American Airlines, and it was devastating listening to the family calling about their loved ones on the planes.
On Facebook, also Ashley Eckert shared in part, I was born and raised in Rhode Island. I was in 6th grade. I have a cousin who worked in the North Tower, and I have an uncle who worked around there. And at the time, we all watched the North Tower get hit, and then we all watched the South Tower fall, and then we watched the North Tower fall. Kids were crying, some knew. Some of their family members were working in there.
Yeah, that's absolutely chilling stuff there. And I believe we have one last viewer comment. Of course, we posted this earlier on Facebook. So this is from Tanya Good. She says she was at her office in Madison Square Garden. That, of course, is the arena where the Knicks and Rangers play. Watching the first one hit, she means playing, on TV. And then she said she watched the towers fall from her office window. And she says right there, I will never, in all caps, forget.
Absolutely. I mean, those images chilling to see. We did reach out to our viewers on Instagram and asking the same question, where were you on 9/11? And these were some of the responses.
September 11th was my birthday. I was a sophomore, University of the Incarnate Word. I was also working the front desk at the Westin La Cantera.
I was a student in the 4th grade. I was at a new elementary school for the first time.
On 9/11, I was in Aviano, Italy, and my dad was an Air Force firefighter, and that's where he was stationed at the time.
What I remember is that morning looking over at my husband and saying, well, we got to go to work.
I was stationed in Guam at the time. I remember I got the phone call early in the morning from the command center telling me that to turn the news on, we were under attack.
I remember calling upstairs to the concierge floor. He tells me, hold on. I'm like, what's going on?
Our teacher turned on the TV and immediately started crying.
It looked like 2 candles burning in the skyline of New York City.
We were on the air all day long, putting out warnings, telling people everything was okay, reassuring people.
We were all in shock and didn't understand the depth of all that was happening.
Just tremendous sadness seeing the cascade of devastation unfold with my fellow countrymen.
By noon, the whole lobby had become into a rental car offices. People renting cars, strangers becoming friends. They're like, hey, we're going up to Michigan, drop us off in Oklahoma.
We just knew that life as we had known it earlier that day and the day before did not exist anymore.
That was when I made the decision that I wanted to join the military as a medic and do my part. Watching all those firefighters go in, knowing that a lot of them weren't going to come out, was very hard on us as a fire family.
When my dad got home from work, he just turned around and looked at me and said, "Ay, mi chiquitita, y hoy íbamos a celebrar tu cumpleaños."
Yeah, some very powerful stuff there. And of course, we appreciate our viewers taking time to send us those videos and submit their stories. Of course, we all kind of remember this day, 9/11. Alicia, what were you doing on 9/11?
I was in 4th grade, just like Jeffrey, who shared his story. And I remember being in class, the teacher turning on her TV, and her father was actually headed to New York. Again, we didn't know where these planes were coming from. We just knew that they had crashed in New York. So that's all I remember, her crying and us just being in shock, watching TV pretty much all day. You?
Yeah, I was actually doing a sort of an internship program at Disney World at the time, and so Orlando was a very big, of course, tourist area, and a lot of people thought that maybe, that might be one of the targets. So Disney World actually shut down that day. It was only the second time ever in its history that it had shut down. I believe it was for World War II when that started up. That's the only time that any sort of Disney amusement park. But I remember seeing people crying. I personally did not have a connection to anyone in New York City, but people that I knew that were there that are from the Northeast, I mean, they were just in tears right away. They immediately knew what had happened and sort of the stakes of all this.
Yeah, I think it took a while for us to even understand what was happening. So almost 2 decades later, there's still, of course, a lot of unrest and pain to understand what's going on. So we reached out to a local organization, nonprofit in Boerne, and they're hosting a Patriot Picnic this weekend. And I just wanted to know why they wanted to do this. And they say that hosting this Patriot Picnic, it's the first annual, but now it's more important than ever.
For the past 20 years in Afghanistan, it's been more than just a war on terrorism.
A lot of it's more than just going over there and shooting the bad guys. It's about creating a place where a culture can exist in peace. That peace and freedom that we get to enjoy here in the United States.
But the cost of the war has been deadly, and those that shed blood and sweat in foreign land have privately confessed to John Henderson they feel like it's been in vain.
A lot of them signed up on 9/11. A lot of them, that was their motivation, for signing the dotted line and for going into the military.
Henderson and his wife, Amy, run the equine therapy nonprofit Legacy Farmstead in Boerne.
We feel like it's important to not just take the service member, but take their entire family and provide them an experience of healing together.
This Sunday, they'll honor the heroes from 9/11 with a special dedication to the 13 U.S. troops killed just days before America's longest war ended.
Just use this trifold flag, this flag that's been folded up, put this at the table. There'll also be a K-bar there. The K-bar is the traditional weapon of the United States Marine Corps, and we lost a lot of Marines in that. I got a set of dog tags. We'll get that set up as well, and a set of boots. Put that together kind of as a memorial to honor the fact that we lost 13 brothers and sisters over there.
It's a way of building community and letting the families know they're not alone.
You don't need to feel like you need to shoulder this big burden by yourself. There's people that are willing to come alongside you, honor the sacrifices that you've been through, honor those that have been fallen, and be able to forge ahead on a path that has a light at the end of the tunnel.
Very powerful stuff there. This nonprofit, Legacy Farmstead, has just done so much, and they collaborate with other nonprofits who share their mission, not just in Boerne, but really across the state of Texas, and they do so much. So this is special. They'll be hosting it at their ranch, and the address to that is 27 Knoll Camper Road. To find out more information, the easiest thing to do is go to their Facebook account. That's Legacy Farmstead, and there they have already shared that event page where you can RSVP to. It's happening 3 to 9 p.m. this Sunday.
Yeah, so many just different connections to 9/11 and San Antonio, and people find different connections in very many different ways. And just one of the many San Antonio connections to, of course, that day is the story of Karen Wagner. So Lieutenant Colonel Wagner died in the attack on the Pentagon, and now, of course, the Judson School is named in her honor, Karen Wagner High School. So Karen Wagner was a graduate of Judson High School and grew up in a military family in San Antonio. She served 17 years in uniform, and there you're watching a picture of her. I went there earlier to Wagner High School to just kind of get some video of some of the memorial stuff that they have of her there. So for this week's episode of KSAT Explains, actually, we talked with teachers at Wagner High School, many of them veterans themselves whose lives were shaped by Karen Wagner's legacy and, of course, 9/11. Here's what they had to say.
She died at the Pentagon, and actually she died trying to help some people escape the fires at the Pentagon. So she died sacrificing herself for others. And so what the students said, what that should mean to us is we should look beyond ourselves. How can we serve others?
It's a tragedy that we lost her, and at the same time, that was possibly part of the impetus for me to enlist in the military as well.
Okay, that gentleman right there, his name is Anthony Cristo. He actually went to school with the Wagner family at Judson High School. So the new episode of KSAT Explains 9/11, 20 years later, is streaming right now on all of our KSAT platforms.
And it's just amazing to see how we all here collaborate to share these stories and learn a little bit about more the history here in San Antonio.
Yeah.
We want to take it to Facebook. We know so many of you are tuned in there. Some comments here. RJ?
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much for chiming in on our Facebook Live right now on KSAT's Facebook page. We really appreciate you guys checking out this first edition of KSAT News Now. And it seems right now, Alicia, like a lot of the talk is really on this come and take it signage. We talked about it earlier during this edition of KSAT News Now. Earl Green says they need to stop removing stuff just because someone doesn't like it. It's freedom of speech. And so, again, yeah, a lot of replies there.
And that's referring to UTSA's move by the president deciding to get rid of that slogan, the flag, just really anything altogether dealing with come and take it. Ali Gallardo here says, nope, it wasn't a good move. So we'll be tracking those. But of course, like you said, a lot of opinions and good or bad. I don't know what's happening.
So keep those opinions coming. You know, we always appreciate the viewer comments and, of course, the engagement because, of course, that's what we're doing this for, just to kind of get you guys involved as well. So thank you very much for being with us on our first edition of KSAT News Now, again coming to you from the KSAT newsroom. We really appreciate it. We have some stuff coming up at noon, a lot of different news, of course, weather, sports.
Yeah, we'll be hearing more for just the news of the day with David and Ursula, but from here in the KSAT newsroom, thank you so much for tuning into our first edition.